So to start the Walkman, you want to find a picture of one and print it out. I was lucky enough to find one that actually had Star-Lord's mixtape on there. It took me a few tries to get the right size, but I measured it against one of my old mixtapes because yes, I still have all my old mixtapes. So then you just want to take your printout and you want to use a glue stick so that it doesn't wrinkle at all. And you just want to put a little bit of glue right in the center. You don't want to do all the way across, just a little bit in the center, and glue it onto a piece of cardboard about like cereal box consistency. About the consistency of cereal box, and then you just want to cut out all the way around your little printout of your Walkman. The cardboard will keep it stable, of course. And then you want to find the rest of the pieces of the Walkman, as many as you can find, and cut all those out, print them on a piece of paper and cut them all out, and then glue them all to some cardboard, the same thickness. And so then you want to take a piece of tape, and this is why you don't glue down the paper all the way to the edges, because you're going to hide the tape under the edges of those pieces of paper. So you just stick the tape under one edge and then connect that piece of cardboard Walkman to the other side, hiding the tape under the other edge, just like that. And then of course you'll do it over on the other side as well. And when you're taping, you want to make sure that you're holding the cardboard at the angle that you want it to stay at. The tape will kind of help it hold its shape until you get all the pieces taped together. And this is actually not my first piece of cardboard tech. I also used to have a cardboard smartphone and a cardboard laptop. So yes, I was a weird child. But so once you've got all the pieces of the cardboard box taped together in its appropriate form, you'll just go back to your glue stick, and then you'll tape down the edges of the paper that you didn't glue down before. Just run a little glue across the corner there, and then just smooth it out into it, and it'll give you a nice smooth front and back and sides, of course, of your Walkman. And then you'll just finish all the way around, doing the same thing with all the other pieces, taping them, and then gluing down the pieces of paper. So it's like that. It's a little bit flimsy, but as long as you don't squish it, it should be fine. And so then for the headphones, it all kind of goes downhill from here. You can actually get these for like $5 on the internet, but I didn't want to wait for them to arrive, so I made my own pair out of 2 pieces of pipe cleaner. And then you just cut a piece of black electrical tape, lay the 2 pieces of pipe cleaner across that, and then you just fold the electrical tape up around the pipe cleaners. If it's not wide enough, you might need to cut a second piece to go around it. But basically you want the pipe cleaners completely encased in the electrical tape because it looks more plastic. And so then you just bend them into the shape of your head. If they're not long enough, then you can just add some more pipe cleaners at the bottom. And so then for the actual earphones part, I took a piece of 5mm craft foam and just traced 2 circles onto it. I'm actually just tracing the old electrical roll here. So just trace around them and then cut them out as smoothly as possible. And then just paint them orange with a little bit of orange paint. And so when you've got them all painted, just take a little bit of hot glue and just put it on the outsides of the headphones and glue them in place. And just do the same thing with the other side. Again, if you just get like a $5 pair off the internet, it will look way, way better than these. And if they don't come with the orange headphones, you can always just paint them orange afterwards. So for the headphone cord, I actually had an old computer mouse that wasn't working, and I kind of save anything that I think could be used for cosplay later on, so this is why I have an old mouse laying around. So I just cut the ends off the mouse, and then I've got the cord, so I took a little something sharp and poked a hole where the cord would actually go on the Walkman. And then you just want to put a dab of glue over that hole and run the end of your cord through it, and that way the cord will catch on the glue and it'll pretty much just glue itself in place right on the edge and on the inside of the box. So then the other end, just take another piece of black electrical tape and tape it to the headphones. And so for the back, to get it to stay on, you just take another rectangle of cardboard and fold it. And then you just flip your Walkman over, take your hot glue gun, put a little bit of hot glue on the shorter flap, and then just glue that right onto the back of the Walkman. And that way you can just slide that into your belt to get the Walkman to stay on. So for the actual belt, you want to cut a rectangle and just cut the corners off. You'll cut 2 of those the exact same size. And then for the top one, you just want to cut the edges off just a little bit more. That just kind of gives it dimension. You layer it over and it gives it a little bit more dimension. So just hot glue those 2 in place just like that. And then if you want to, you can draw a line down the center so you can keep track of it, but you don't have to. Then just take some puffy paint, and you want to draw 2 thick lines of puffy paint on either side of that center mark. And then you'll do 3 thinner lines going the opposite direction, crossing over the 2 thick lines that you did. Just leave that to dry. Once it's all dry, you'll take some silver metallic paint and just paint over everything. You want to paint over the puffy paint as well. So you should end up with this. And then you want to take either some darker silver paint, or I'm using metallic gunmetal gray here, and you just want to really sloppily dot on that paint. You don't want to fully cover it, you just want to do little dots all over the place on it. And while it's still wet, just take a napkin or a cloth and just kind of smudge across it so that it smudges your dots a little bit so they're not so cleanly cut. And it kind of gives it that aged metal look. So then just got a second-hand belt, and you just want to double check and make sure that it can close and see where your loop is. You're just going to take some hot glue, put it down that metal loop, and hot glue your cardboard buckle right onto that. And then you should still be able to open and close the belt underneath the cardboard. You just have to do it carefully so you don't knock off your... And then I put on a couple pieces of sticky back Velcro in order to keep the cardboard down when the belt was shut. So for the holsters, I took 2 pieces of Pellon and cut them into basic holster shape. You can also use craft foam if you want. And then I got some distressed looking material, and I laid it with the plain side up, so the distressed side is down. Laid it plain side up, and then you just want to lay your Pellon or your craft foam holster right over the top of that. Make sure you have it facing whichever way you want the shiny side to be down. And then you'll just cut around that, leaving a 1/2 inch all the way around it. And then you'll just hot glue the edges of that up around the back side of the holster and go all the way around, gluing up the edges. And so you should end up with this, so it looks nice and leathery on the front side. And I'll do that to both of them. And then you want to cut 4 strips of more of that distressed material, and on the back side you just want to fold them over themselves so that you get some nice, or a little over 1/2 inch wide strips, kind of look like full leather strips. And then you want to make sure that they're small enough to fold through a D-ring. Star-Lord's were actually triangular shaped D-rings, but all I could find were the round topped ones, so that's what I'm using. So you just take your strips and you'll take 2 of them, you'll put one, slide it through on the right side, and one slide it through on the left side. And the one thing you want to make sure is that the flat side of the D-ring, you want the flat side of the D-ring to be on the bottom. And so then you go back and grab your hot glue gun, and then you just glue those straps in place right around the D-ring. You want to glue both of them in place. And so then they're just going to fit on the belt in that shape. And I really simplified this belt because per usual I'm short on time, so shortcut is my middle name. And so you'll just put a little hot glue on the back of that on each side and glue those right in place onto the belt, and then just take a pair of scissors and cut off any excess that's sticking up above the belt. And then of course you'll do the same thing on the other side of the belt, over towards the buckle side, and you want to make sure that you're testing where these sit when you're putting them on. And so going back to the holster pieces, you just want to drill 2 holes through your distress covered Pellon, and then you want to take some wire. I'm using baling wire here, so you want something about that consistency, and you'll just want to fold them up so you get basically a square loop on the bottom. You want to make sure that the loop is big enough to go around the handle of your blaster, and once you've made sure of that, then you'll just take the top and fold that back the opposite direction. And you'll do that with 2 of them. You'll just slide those, the long part, the part that you folded back, you'll just slide that through the holes so the little hooks hang down there, and they should be able to hold right onto your blaster just like that without it moving too much. And so once you've made sure that everything fits there, you can just slide those back out. Then you're going to take your pliers and just fold down the back of it all the way down just like that, and of course you'll do it to the other one as well. That'll help keep them from moving on the holster. So you just slide those in and slip them down. And then you just take your pliers and you'll squeeze them so that they're even tighter against the holster, and that should really help them to not move. And if they do move, you can always just take a piece of black thread and wrap it around them to hold them in place, but pliers do it pretty well. So then Star-Lord's D-rings were actually a little bit farther over, but I kind of misplaced mine, so mine are going to be right over my holsters. But either way, you just take a little bit of hot glue, run it across the top of your holster. Make sure you got a fairly decent line of glue there. And then you just lay the belt right on top of that, wherever the holsters have to sit. And so then here is my cardboard Walkman, and my blaster held in place with my little holster.